Hello, everyone. Good evening and welcome to tonight's Pearl of Wisdom. Very excited that you've decided to join us. And tonight is our 64th Pearl of Wisdom. Now, if you haven't had a chance to tune in on Facebook Live before, you're in for a real treat. Tonight, we will be going over the 7 blissful blessings that are ours to enjoy when we're enjoying being in joy. So I am so excited to be working with Mynoo Maryel every Thursday evening. I host Mynoo on our Pearl of Wisdoms, and we have 108 of them that we're going to be bringing forth. We are now on our 64th Pearl of Wisdom. Hard to believe. So again, tonight, Mynoo will share with us the 7 blissful blessings that are ours to enjoy. And when we receive and acknowledge and accept grace. So this is all about grace. And that I said to Mynoo right before we got on, this is one of my favorite words. And it just brings me to centering and to a state of peace, just to think about grace. And I know it's something we're all interested in having in our life. So Mynoo will share the 7 blissful blessings that are ours to enjoy. Again, enjoy when we receive what we acknowledge and accept with grace. So thank you all for joining as we will venture into grace tonight. Mynoo's also going to talk about a special period of time that we're in right now. She calls it the pipeline, and I'll let her give you more details on that. But it started today. So you will get some tools on how to work with this period that we're in that will go all the way through May 16th. So very excited to be venturing on this journey with you into grace. And with that, I will turn it over to Mynoo to take us forth. Hi, Mynoo.
Thank you, Catherine, and hello, everyone. Okay, so let's begin with this very special period that we have just entered today. Now, right at the start of the year, you heard me talk about that we are in the year of rejoicing. And last year, we were in the year of flowing in flow. So in flowing in flow, what we experienced were what I call as slipstreams that enabled you to literally trust in yourself and go, knowing that you will move forward and you are very likely to land up somewhere quite beautiful and unexpected, but beautiful nonetheless. This year is a year of rejoicing. So it is a rejoicing vibe, and that is what is being anchored this year. So from time to time, so it is as if you have an opportunity to take what you believe in and really surf the wave of rejoicing. And literally rejoicing all the way. Now, from time to time, the swells build up, and it is a pipeline develops. I'm not a surfer, and I have spent many, many, many Christmas, New Year's in Oahu, the North Shore of Oahu, where the Pipeline Masters happen. So I've had the opportunity to be in that exhilarated energy of the Pipeline Masters and really watch these amazing masters at play, working and being at one with the waves, with the ocean. So what I know of this particular time, just using that analogy of the pipelines, it's not for everyone. You could do what I did for years, which is stand on the shore and completely enjoy and with what you're witnessing. Breathe in that wonderful, healthy air and just be there. That's a very legit choice to make. And it is also an opportunity that presents itself to those who are ready to utilize these surfing waves and the energy of this year so that you can move forward your projects, your intentions, your resolve, and move it forward at tremendous velocity. you have the pipelines present you that opportunity in a much more powerful way, like where you end up. Literally, if you are able to ride one pipe, your ability to serve any wave anywhere in the world completely transform. You anchor yourself, you are recognized for who you are. You literally are, you with the swell, you're lifted up and placed on, at a vantage point where you look at what's next, being acknowledged, receiving and accepting that as one of the best in the world at what you choose to do. So if you wish to utilize this time, go ahead and do it. If you have even a tiny, tiny, teeny bit of conflict or questions, resolve those first. Do not rush into a pipe. You don't dabble at a time when you have these big pipeline waves developing. You make a very concerted choice, and then you move forward with it. With your surfboard, you don't just go. You don't just go into a pipeline wave. There isn't, you enjoy it from the shore and you go surf, if that's what you choose to do. Okay, so everyone, because the swell has been building up to this point, and the swell is there between now and the 6th of May as the pipeline waves. So you will see a lot of buildup occurring for each one of you. You'll be experiencing that already if you haven't noticed. Take a moment or two to notice, acknowledge, and then your choice. And if you are to ride the pipe, your surfboards and go in. Taking your surfboard and holding it again, you will only trash it. Going in, thinking, well, we'll see how it goes, can be quite dangerous. And you can make that choice. You are free to do that. So this is what I wanted to just offer before we go into the 64th Pearl of Wisdom, which is grace. So grace, we're talking about the 7 blissful blessings that are embodied within grace. The first one is generosity. The blessing of generosity. Now, even before I go in, I talk about 7 blissful blessings that are there, that are available to you within grace. So what is bliss? Bliss, again, is one of those consequences, just like peace is a consequence of being in gratitude. Bliss is a consequence of counting your blessings. So one of the first things that occur when you are in this state of grace, and that's the first blissful blessing, which is that of generosity, because you immediately get present to how many blessings are there that you have received. The vibe is there, even if you may actually find yourself in a difficult situation. The moment you choose to step into grace, all of the 7 blissful blessings are activated. And in the Pearl of Wisdom, I teach you to work through them one at a time and do it in this sequence. The first being generosity. Really being plentiful, or large. So the moment you go in with that vibe of generosity and you are in a state of grace, and we are talking about blessings to experience the consequence of bliss, you immediately are able to accelerate your unconditional acceptance of what is and choose to move forward. And when you move forward, when you are in a state of grace, you can't help it but look at the blessings that you already have received. That's just, that's the innate vibe of grace is blessings. Now, when you can count how blessed you are, and experience that generosity of the divine that has been bestowed upon you in the form of blessings. That blessing could be having the gift of life, having the friends that you have, sitting down, standing up, having your health, whatever it may be. It literally opens your heart up, opens your mind up, and you step into the vibe of generosity. Now, generosity, what is the innate vibe of generosity? You heard me talk about every word has an innate vibe. The innate vibe of generosity is a deep connection to the spirit of everything. Hence the generosity, the spirit of generosity. And that's what happens. Now, I love the Pearls of Wisdom. And the way I work with them, most of you here are regulars now, I work with them by doing a lay of the land and looking at my life across a full spectrum: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, social, and environmental. So when I step into the generosity vibe and I'm looking at blessings, in no time at all, I am in a complete state of bliss. So have a go with that, And the interesting thing is, I would often do a gratitude journal. Well, I did it very consistently for many years, every single day, sometimes several times a day. And that in itself is wonderful. Applying gratitude to blessings. It gives you that powerful turbocharge that comes from both. Gratitude, the consequence of gratitude is peace. Combine that with blessings that you are expressing your gratitude towards gives you that state of bliss. Peace and bliss combined together not only is a very powerful propulsion, has a very powerful propulsion impact on thriving, it really is the food for your thriving instinct. It also is regenerative. Like literally one thing leads to another, leads to another. You have even more peace and you're in greater bliss, and so it goes. It's whatever the most amazing ecstasy infusing drug is. This is like way more potent than anything you would have. And you have all your faculties completely together. You are grounded, you are present, and you are expanded in a regenerative way. Now, here's the other beautiful impact of this. Now, generosity connects you to the spirit of everything. It brings out the spiritedness of you. So what does that actually mean? It immediately starts to dramatically reduce your vibrational age. We have a biological age, we have a metabolic age, and we have a vibrational age. The vibrational age is the one that is directly proportional to the level of vitality you experience. And you truly become ageless. So the first blissful blessing of generosity, adding the lay of the land exercise, adding gratitude to counting your blessings and doing it in a full spectrum way, going across the entire lay of the land, transforms your vibrational age, and vitality becomes you. When you have vitality, the vibrancy with which every cell that makes up your physical form is vibrating becomes healthier. Not only that, many of the cells return to the way they were originally meant to vibrate. Every organ in your body is made up of a cluster of cells, and every cell has a vibrational frequency and has an originating vibrational frequency. In that originating vibrational frequency, every cell can regenerate itself. The combination of gratitude and applying that to counting your blessings and the impact of that in putting you in a state of peace and landing you in the lap of bliss. Just the combination is ecstatic, reduces your vibrational age, makes you healthier, and your own vibrancy returns. So, this being the first blissful blessing, and we have 6 more to go. How much better can it get? So let's look at the second one. The second one is gracious grandeur. I love these words, and I love it that I don't have to use my mind to logically analyze all of this. It's like, okay, 7 blissful blessings of bliss, of grace. Let's bring it on. So gracious grandeur. I mean, think about it. Think about when you've experienced graciousness in yourself, when you've experienced someone else being gracious to you. You know, it's marked by kindness and courtesy, right? That kindness and courtesy. You know, when someone is kind and courteous to you, you notice them. And what do you notice? You know, you notice their charm. You start noticing, you know, their good taste. You start feeling the vibration of their presence. It all feels so tasteful. You know, and truly, I mean, I find it when I'm in that presence of graciousness, it's as if, you know, I have a lovely taste in my mouth. I become present to the deliciousness of what is unfolding. And there is delicacy in graciousness also. You know, and with delicacy, delicacy is actually one of the pearls of wisdom. When I'm guided to do it, I will do it. There are many nuances that are so powerful in delicacy, because when you are in the state of delicacy and noticing all of that, you become present to the nuances, you know, and kindness and courtesy within you starts to multiply. You do that with others, and you do that to yourself. Where we are the most harsh is to ourselves often. And this second blissful blessing of gracious grandeur puts you on that path of kindness and courtesy. And, you know, it's all the phrase gracious host is often used. For me, what it did was when I got into this, I really saw my human body as a gracious host of my soul presence. You know, transform my relationship to it. I didn't have to wait till I lost weight to love my body. I really was present to the graciousness of this amazing host. No matter what, it never lets go of the soul presence until the soul presence is ready to depart. And that recognizing that kindness and courtesy and the graciousness of your human form, I started noticing the charm, the good taste, the delicacy, the nuances. It was slow and wonderful and flowing, but what got achieved in terms of love of myself, really being truly, madly, deeply in love with myself, it was an accelerated result, which might have taken a long, long time to come about, but actually approaching it with grace, working through the second graciousness, grandeur aspect, I actually landed at that place of self-love, unconditional self-love, much faster than anything else. And it was gracious. Grandeur, like graciousness actually does catapult you into that quality of, of grandness, magnificence, glory, awesomeness. So think about it. Think about it. Think about showing up. You've been invited somewhere, and it may be for a cup of coffee, or you may choose to invite yourself for a walk in Central Park or wherever. You're going to show up in your gracious grandeur. You're embodying kindness and courtesy, and you are present to that quality of being grand, noticing your charm and your delicacy and the generosity of spirit with which you are approaching everything as you experience the magnificence of you and the glory of you and the awesomeness of you. And in that state, all that you will notice around you is exactly the same. What this did, this particular working through this blissful blessing, what it did for me was I really got to see, I was aware of it. And it will do this for everyone. You really get to see what's within you is what is outside of you. And you can get an inkling of that by looking at what's outside of you. The fact that it exists in your field, it's only because there is some aspect of that inside of you. So if you notice things that are a little bit unpalatable outside, well, there's a little bit within you that is unpalatable also. Acknowledge it, unconditionally accept it. It doesn't seem that unpalatable anymore. You can do something about it, and you'll see the world outside transforms. If you find yourself sliding into a state of blame, you're missing that gracious grandeur. Step into that gracious grandeur, blissful blessing of grace, and start noticing the kindness and courtesy that has been afforded to you, that has been brought forth to you, and where you have been that way. And that's where the cycle begins, and it ends with magnificence, glory, awesomeness, that experience of feeling grand. What I love about the Pearls of Wisdom per se, and each one in the 7 that I go through every week, each one of these is something that each one of us can do for ourselves. It has literally for me and for so many of you who message me ongoingly as you've been implementing some aspects of these pearls, it's taken out that rush energy. And like Wordsworth said, I have no time to stand and stare. It actually has given us time to continue that wonderful blessing of 2020 and beyond, to be able to stand and stare. Even if it is just at in your journal, whatever it is. So the third blissful blessing is eloquence. Some words I do notice my Indian accent creeping in, so I may not be saying it right, but eloquence. I may not be saying it eloquently, but it is eloquence. So what is eloquence? My gosh, grace brings eloquence? Well, eloquence, if you think about it, when you have felt eloquent, you have been, it's marked by persuasiveness. There is a gravitas with which you are communicating. There is no pull force. There is
Sit tight, everyone. Are you back, Mynoo?
I am, okay. Where did we stop?
Gravitas in which you communicate.
Okay. So let me just switch the internet to my phone internet. Okay, is that all right? Okay. This is the thing when you travel, and travels have begun in my life again. So thank you for bearing with me. Eloquence, yes. So there is a gravitas in when you are feeling eloquent. There's an authoritative gravitas, and the impact of that is persuasiveness. You know, people hear you, people receive you. They may or may not say anything. They don't shut you out. Now, if you are using eloquence just as, as a way of showing off, and there is no real desire to communicate anything, just to deliver, a one-way set of words, they land, you may be eloquent, but there is persuasion doesn't happen. People do shut off there. Now, using eloquence as one of the blissful blessings of grace, by the time you get to this one, you already have experienced the power of the generosity blissful blessing. You already are in your gracious grandeur, and you are now harnessing your eloquence. And it is the gravitas, the authoritative gravitas is that of your presence. And remember, when you are presencing your presence, you are automatically, immediately, to the same degree, presencing that of another. So the eloquent, authoritative gravitas in your communication feels like, it may feel like a divine discourse, but it's as if something rises in the person that you're communicating this with. They feel received, even though they may not have spoken anything. And that only comes from your presence. And grace, when you are using this blessing and you're engaged in a state of grace, this is the direct impact of it. People receive you with this divine quality in your communication. And it feels like a divine quality of persuasion, where they are persuaded because they are seen, because they are presenced for who they are. There's something else that happens, which is quite interesting. When you apply eloquence, blissful blessing, you're not attached to the outcome. So sometimes when we get attached to the outcome, we are constantly like, we're only operating from our mind. And we are looking at, well, what do we have to react or what do we have to say? So if we're not present We're only listening to be able to respond or react. We're actually listening to react, not respond. That is not response. And you may react eloquently, and all it does is it creates a rift. When you are in a state of grace and you are present, you are presencing their presence, and you are communicating, it's as if you are in a divine dance. You are so aware of how they are moving, led by you. You know exactly where their feet are, so you never step on them. The level of awareness increases to a level of nuance. It's quite amazing. I mean, I know for myself, as I started practicing ease, joy, and grace, Catherine, as you know, this has been like my thing from the time I just embarked on my spiritual awakening journeys. So I've had a lot of time with this experience of grace. I do believe that, this gift of writing, gift of communicating, I call them downloads, and some of them are, and others are really tapping into my inner wisdom and distilling very precisely my own life experiences. And it's a combination of all of that I feel very blessed to be able to share. And I do that with you each week, and do lots and lots of that. And I believe the eloquence in the words, that in the choice of words and in the way the words, are stringed together, I believe has come from being in the state of grace, being in a state of generosity, being in a state of gracious grandeur. So experience eloquence in a way where that is delivered by you really presencing your presence. The fourth blissful blessing in grace is wonderment. Wonderment. What is wonderment? Wonderment is a cause to wonder. So what gets presenced when you step into a state of grace? And Catherine, that's the reason why you said, I love this grace. It literally, it becomes a cause for wonderment. So on the one hand, you notice. On the other hand, you cause. And then you notice even more, and more gets caused, and then you notice even more, and it multiplies. And what occurs when that multiplied effect starts to kick in with your conscious effort, the universe that is there in service of you says, okay, got it, message received. And it starts to multiply wonderment. And that's why wonderment, as opposed to wonder, you become the cause of wonder. And you experience and enjoy and rejoice in wonder that is caused around you, because you have the time to notice it and experience it. I love when I do the wonderment part, I love doing the lay of the land. Just imagine, right? You go physically. Right, let's look at the cause and occasion of wonder that I already have access to in my physical presence, mentally, even when I have been in a state of anguish. And it's reduced dramatically reduced. But even when it's there, I have chosen the wonderment, blessing of grace. And there's always something that is worthy of acknowledging as wonder. The fact that even I could feel that intensity of, anxiousness, particularly when my daughter-in-law's visa thing was going on, I experienced that intensity. That in itself was a cause to wonder that, wow, it's good. I haven't shut off my emotions and I can continue to move forward no matter what. So as you start to recount your causes and occasions of wonder, you can literally go lay of the land, physical, mental, emotional. Good emotions, bad emotions, ugly emotions, whatever they may be. What has occurred when you have been in that state that you would say is worthy of acknowledging as wonder? When I did this for myself at an emotional level, I recounted certain experiences I had in my life, which were like, how did I even survive that? And it did get me to distill many aspects that were wonderful. There were learnings and insights that I actually anchored for myself. I took a stand for myself, that this is never, ever occurring again. And just taking that stand was worthy of celebration. It transformed my relationship to certain key situations that otherwise might have kept some yuckiness in my field. This one, really working with this particular blessing, the blissful blessing in grace, completely delivers bliss in no time at all. And it is regenerative. It is something that powers up your thriving instinct. Survival is taken care of. Lack disappears. Abundance sets in.
क्लास चल रही है अच्छा उधर और क्या कर रहे हो आज जल्दी आना है गलोटी कबाब खाने
I apologize. So Mynoo was getting excited about certain kebabs that they're going to have. Okay, wonderment. I'm wondering, wow, who is this person? I happen to be in her town, I too should look out for these galoti kebabs. Okay, coming to the fifth one. And it has become too hot, so I'm going to turn on the air conditioning again. Okay, the fifth one is resurrection. So by the time you get to the fifth one, remember in the Pearls of Wisdom, I always say, go through them sequentially, one after the other. By the time you get to resurrection, the resurrection by itself, doesn't necessarily feel blissful. It may be hard work and it could involve a long process. However, when you are in a state of grace and you are going through the blissful blessings one after the other, and you now arrive at number 5, which is resurrection. Resurrection is rising from the dead. It's a divine thing that happens. The phoenix effect, I call it for myself. To me, when I engage with this one, rising like a phoenix, it's as if I reclaimed my own individuality. I reclaimed my own identity, my own presence. And that enabled me to return to it. There was a time in my life where, when I first embarked on my spiritual awakenings, and my homework was to look at what is it that I wanted to do next, and also examine who am I. And in looking at what I wanted to do next, I made a brainstorm. I wrote 21 pages of lists. And it's only when I read those lists, I realized that in that list, there wasn't anything that I would say I wrote because I wanted it. Everything there was because I thought my partner wanted it, my son wanted it, my friends, my family. And I remember reading that list and just reading it for myself, asking, what is it that I want? Do I want to stand up? Do I want to sit down? Do I want to close my eyes, open my eyes? What color do I want to see? I couldn't think of anything. I was blank. It was a moment of resurrection. And that could have been hard work, and I chose grace. I chose ease. I chose joy. And it's through grace I allowed the doorway to resurrection to occur. And there was softness, gentleness, unconditional acceptance of who I was. And that enabled me to come home to me. It enabled me to examine what is it that occurred in my life that got me to shut myself off in such a strong way that I could not at all recall what it is that I wanted for myself. But first, it was the presencing of grace, recounting and reconnecting to the generosity of spirit, combining gratitude, applying it to the blessings, stepping into gracious grandeur, and then trusting the eloquence in my words as I wrote down in my journal, allowing myself to experience that wonderment, reading that I had finally had a breakthrough in my writing abilities. Resurrection was inevitable. I came home to me and emerged from there. And now I love mini resurrection moments. It just feels pretty cool. I love to observe people doing it for themselves also. The most amazing miracle of 2020 is resurrection. Resurrection, seeing nature reclaim itself, humans reclaiming their human nature, which is the nature that comes forth as you express the love that you are. The anchoring of grace on our planet that has taken place in the last 3 years. So even as I'm working through this pearl of wisdom and I'm looking at the blissful blessings and choosing to work with resurrections, now I'm in a state where I don't necessarily have anything within me to resurrect, but noticing and observing what's going on around me has this blissful blessing experience, accentuating and anchoring the presence of grace. The sixth one is attunement. Attunement. Grace attunes you. Grace attunes your environment. Grace attunes others as you interact with them. What is it attuning you to? What are others becoming attuned to? It is the rhythm of you in your full presence, the rhythm of you in the fullness of your presence. And you truly experience the giftedness of yourself in a graceful, gracious way. When you accept that and you are in that state of graciousness, grandeur is again a consequence. You're not afraid to be grand. because the way you express it, the way you express is in a graceful way, presencing the presence of grace. So attunement really transforms your reactiveness to others. And there's a switch that takes place from reacting to any situation to really giving yourself the trust to receive what is actually happening, observing it, and receiving your own insights so that you can respond. Respond is like responsibly bonding with another. Respond is also another pearl of wisdom that we will do at some point. So attunement is that you bond with all aspects of you within yourself, and you do so by continually being stationed in the rhythm of you. You become attuned to that rhythm. And when you show up in this attuned way, you are able to respond to another in a way that doesn't feel, imploding on them or commanding them. You can be firm, you can be assertive, you can make very clear asks when you are in the attunement of your own rhythm, because you are in how that is delivered. You automatically, when you are tuned up, they are tuned up. Just look at it in the context of a musical instrument. You don't have to be a guitar player to know that a guitar is out of tune. When you are present to a finely tuned instrument being played by a master, you step into a state of flow. That's exactly what happens here. The blissful blessing of attunement, when you are doing a deep dive into grace, attunes you to the rhythm of you, and from that rhythm, you eloquently communicate. And people receive it, and hence the persuasiveness, because it's as if you are in tune with where they are at. It really is a beautiful process, the attunement process that transforms any relationship. The attunement process is the exquisite, enchanting relationship foundation. It's a foundation for that. When we attune with others, we allow our own internal state to shift. And we resonate with our inner world. When you are in resonance of your inner world, you are in resonance of your outer world. If you are out of resonance with your outer world, there is something that you are not resonating within. So when I apply the lay of the land to attunement, I deep dive into resonance. What is it that is going on in my physical world that I am resonating with? What is out of resonance? And that physical world could be within my physical body. It could be in my physical environment that I'm in. And I can choose to bring that which is out of resonance into resonance by doing whatever I know to do. Or I may say, okay, that is not resonating and it is not mine to do. So I release it. I release the attachment to want to have everything in resonance. But when you choose to release that, do it in such a way that you are in a state of unconditional acceptance of what is, so it doesn't feel like something that you are cutting short for yourself. Now, when you observe the blissful blessings through the lens of attunement in grace, it's as if everything becomes a point of curiosity. Curiosity that educates, that illuminates, that expands. You don't feel threatened by anything. You become one with your resolve. I completely saw this shift occur within me when I became clear that expecting and accepting miracles as the norm for humans and humanity is my gig. And this to occur with joy, ease, and grace, omnipresent, is the way I deliver it. And that is mine to do. You can imagine me even sharing this with my corporate friends or my relatives who saw me as this go-getting corporate top executive. They would be like, what are you talking about? What's miracle? Do you even know what that is? What kind of word are you using? Because, not because they didn't love me, just because it was something very different. Even ease, joy, and grace was different. Grace, I had no comprehension of what that was. And all I could do was when I go into a space and I don't comprehend it at all, I literally go into a state of implementation. And I do it bite-sized chunks. I even took up ecstatic dancing to get into the rhythm of me, to reconnect to rhythm that actually gets my body to move. Because there was no physical attunement there at all. Lots of reasons why not to do attuning exercises, like lack of time, feeling ill, whatever it might be. And all of that may still be present in your life, in your world. The moment you choose grace, and I invite you to just play with it, just take on the 7 blissful blessings in grace. And just go through it one after the other. By the time you get to the 6th one, which is attunement, you already are attuned to the rhythm of you. So your relationship with yourself is transformed. And from that space, you can very powerfully relate to others. And they discover the rhythm within themselves. They discover their own rhythm. And in the journey into miracles that many of you here have done, that's really all I'm doing, taking you on that journey of your own attunement and you recognizing how supported you are in that. So now let's look at the 7th one. The 7th blissful blessing in grace. I love it, this one. It's colorful, zest, and zeal. So for me, colorful, now in the context of colorful, it's got a combination of colors. It's bright, it's got a mix of colors. Now, when you're going through an experience of life, right? When you're going through an experience of life, colorful basically is an eclectic mix of a variety of nuances that you will find in each experience. So in examining this particular blissful blessing, taking each incident, I love working at that level of nuance because to me, the most delectable yumminess lies in that nuance. So I go into, okay, what is the eclectic mix of blissful blessings in this incident? and I look at different shades of that blessing. This person did this and that gave rise to this. Wow, that is a blessing. How much better can it get? And then I go and look at, well, what did I do with that understanding? Oh, this is what emerged because of what I had learned there. This is what I'm able to do now. It's like, oh, wow, how much better can it get? And so it goes. Just noticing that colorfulness brings aliveness. The great thing about the 7 blissful blessings of grace is each one gives you aliveness instantly. The moment you choose to go into it, it's as if you start living your life with every breath you take. Living occurs and aliveness is the consequence. You start experiencing it immediately. That's why I call these 7 blissful blessings. Each one of them opens a doorway to aliveness instantly. For you to feel alive, you would already be living your life. For you to be living your life, you are in a state of grace, graciously acknowledging the divine blessing of the state of life. Like literally any which way, thriving is the result of being in grace. Thriving is the isness of grace. And when thriving exists, anything that results in thriving is regenerative. It's the survival strategies that are not regenerative. At best, they can be sustainable with a lot of work. Thriving strategies are automatically regenerative. So this colorful stock take of your lay of the land, it's pretty cool. Have a go with that. It just fills you. And then, surely when this is what happened to me, when I noticed all this wonderful colors and brightness that existed in my life, I immediately was present to the zest of life. The zest of life is coming alive with great enthusiasm and energy. And that gives you that zeal, where you can, with that zeal, pursue your objective. My objective being humans and humanity, expecting and accepting miracles as their norm, with joy, ease, and grace, omnipresent. I just love how you begin with colorful. If you start with zeal, it may feel very overwhelming. It was for me. Expecting and accepting miracles as the norm for humans and humanity. Oh my God, this is a very big thing. And then it was like, okay, I take that on. I'm good. That's my gig. I'll play the game. And then I started with the colorful part, stock take, lay of the land, particular situations, particular experiences, good, bad, ugly, beautiful, noticing the brightness of the colors that were present, physically present, but also in terms of the variety of experiences and learnings and insights, and how one thing led to another. I became such an amazing connector of dots that led to that zest, vibrancy, vitality, propelling me forward into a state of zeal with which I took on what I stand for. So enjoy working with the blissful blessings hidden in grace. Do each one without compromise, and just work through them one after another. Don't need to rush to the last one. Go start from the first one. It's the most amazing immunity booster, vitamin, ecstasy, call what you may, you will give yourself. With that, I hand it over to you, Catherine.
Mynoo, oh my goodness, you epitomize grace so beautifully. And having this pearl of wisdom delivered through you, as you always say, it hit the bullseye for me. And I just appreciate so many of these tidbits that we get to play with. I love the reminder of responding rather than reacting. You know, that's really when we're eloquently communicating. And so much that you've given us in this pearl of wisdom. So we get to play with this going into the pipeline for the next 10 or so days. What a great time to do that and experience grace and come alive. So with that, thank you all for joining. Very, very excited to have this tool in my tool belt, and I'm sure you are as well. And let's play with it and see what we bring forth. Thank you again. Thank you, Mynoo. Good to see everyone.